welcome to the second education webinar, Employability, Keeping Pace with Market Needs. Thank you for your time this evening. I'm your moderator. My name's Noni Edwards. I'm an Australian journalist and presenter. I've been with Gulf News for 6 years and been in the UAE for 12 years. Let me introduce our expert panellists who will share their achieve it. We have Professor Hossam Hamdi, Chancellor of Gulf Medical University. Welcome, Professor.
Hi. Thank you.
We have Ms. Kiri Chandler, Program Coordinator for the Undergraduate Business Program at Murdoch University.
Hello.
Dr. Michael Klopp, the Senior Lecturer, Head of the Institute for Entrepreneurship and Business Excellence, Head of the Middlesex MBA and Head of the Careers and Employability Service at Middlesex University. Welcome, Dr. Michael.
Thank you so much.
Busy man. And Mr. Raj Kapoor, Director of Student Recruitment at American University in Dubai.
Hello, thank you.
Mr. Zawahir Sadiq, Head of Blended Learning at Westford University College.
Hello, everyone. Good morning.
And Dr. Hussein El-Mehdi, Dean of Academic Support Services at University of Sharjah.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Welcome to you all. I must say from my end, I'm having a little difficulty hearing some of you. We'll go as we can. So what we'll do, our topic today is and how to keep pace with market needs. We'll be trying to cover as many aspects as we can over the next 45 minutes. So let's get straight in and kick it off with a question for everybody to weigh in on. What are the workplace competencies that have traditionally been in high demand for the past few years, and how has been developing them? Mr. Raj, please go ahead.
Thank you. First of all, Noni, thank you so much for having us here. And before I start, I'd just like to say I hope everyone is safe and well and, staying safe, I should say. Okay, so this is something that's really not new. Traditionally, yes, your hard skills are really important, Noni, but employers are looking for more than those hard skills, more than that knowledge. They're looking for a lot of what we call soft skills, things like communication, being able to work.
I'm sorry, could I just, sorry, Raj, I'm so sorry. Can I ask our panelists to mute themselves so that we can give most of our attention to Raj here?
Sorry. So yeah, just picking off again. So definitely the hard skills are important. Your knowledge of the subject and whatever you're going into. So if it's engineering and it's software engineering, of course you need to know about software engineering. But for a long time now, employers are looking for more than that. When I say more than that, specifically your soft skills, which really in many ways they're a bit of a misnomer. There's nothing soft about these skills. These are power skills. These are hard earned. This is your emotional intelligence. This is your ability to work in teams, your communication skills, your ability to empathize, your own self-awareness, collaboration, and understanding of other people and cultures. So that for sure. And there's a reason for that. You know, it wasn't the business landscape today is very different to what it was 30, 40 years ago. 40 years ago, perhaps your competitor was down the street. Today, you could be in the UK and your competitor could be in Australia. You're sitting at a desk working with a team with 7 different nationalities and different demographics. So unless you're able to get on with these people, you can have all the hard skills you want and have all the knowledge you want, but unless you're able to be and collaborate with these people, employers generally don't want you.
Fantastic. Great overview there. I'd like to throw this question around to everyone else as well. Perhaps we can focus on perhaps choosing one, specific workplace competency that's been traditionally in high demand and how universities are good at developing them. Professor Hossam.
Thank you. I tend to agree and disagree with Dr. Raj. I definitely agree that I'm not disagreeing, but for many years I have changed the names what we call it hard skills or hard competence and soft. I think what we call the soft are the hard. And he's correctly mentioned, I like the powerful or power skills, because they are essential, but we still, till now, we don't know how to teach it and how to assess it, for example, in an objective way, if you want. From my perspective as coming from the health profession education, I think a very essential soft or hard, whatever you want to call it, is communication skills. Because communication is, it cuts across everything. It is not the technology, but the human relation. The technology is a way, is a tool, but again, communication is very important. The worst thing about doctors like me is that when they have poor communication skills. So the human relation is very important, and that's why we try to embed communication skills. It is not a course. I don't believe there is a course called 201 communication skills. It has to permeate in everything. It has to be an integral part of all our educational environment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Hossam. Dr. Michael, what is a specific workplace competency that has been traditionally in high demand, and how are universities been delivering that?
Yes, thank you also for having me, of course, today here. So basically, I think when we look at the last years, when you ask the past few years, we also look at the fourth industrial revolution, right? And basically, that's talking about changing the way we live and work. And when you look at that, it's quite interesting that you will see that this critical thinking, I think, is an essential skill that also us as educator have the responsibility to really transform that into the students, that they really start this critical thinking process, because that will change the world and that will drive innovation.
Thank you so much. Kiri, workplace competencies, how has Murdoch been delivering them traditionally?
Well, I echo everything that's already been said and totally agree that they have to be integrated throughout curriculum. And communication is, broadly speaking, I think the foundational common denominator where we really need to instill in students, get them realizing that communication, especially in their early career development, is so important. And how we do this through the hard task of developing critical thinking, because no one really understands critical thinking until you're in it. And it's very hard to teach, even in an online environment, critical thinking. So how do we really access that through our platforms now? Because we're only going to be dealing with this sort of environment, I would say, more and more. And having that human aspect and those human skills developed is becoming more and more important, even through the advancement of technology and automation and robotics and so forth, artificial intelligence, communication and that personalized human aspect, I think are the areas we still need to focus on in education, particularly in helping students become prepared for what new landscape is out there now in terms of our workforce environment.
Thanks, Kiri. Dr. Hussain, what's your take on it? Workplace competencies. Traditionally, what have been the workplace competencies that universities have to help deliver?
Okay, well, thank you very much for having me. It's really a good opportunity to exchange ideas here. And one of the competencies that have been in the rise in demand is the what I call the multidimensional skills for the students. So engineering, for example, or science, or even in the health profession, now they are looking, employers are looking for a student or a graduate who can be multidimensional, especially in skills, computing skills, for example, information technology in different disciplines. things that are, basically the incorporation of technology into the different fields, for example. The other thing that is being, at least in our the University of Sharjah, we've seen that is that employers now are even going into the curriculum and seeing what sort of skills the student has within the curriculum itself. And this goes along with the argument that was put forward by my colleagues here, where it is really about integrating these skills into the curriculum, early into the curriculum. And now employers are looking for that. When they see the CV of the student, they actually look into how the program, let's say, for example, what Professor Hussam said is that it's really not 101 where you teach communication in a course, but through the curriculum, where there are components in the curriculum where sort of you, as an employer, you see that there are some skills the student gained during their experience, during their education, and that will help them to be, a multidimensional, engineer, or a very, let's say, technically educated engineer to go with the trends, the current trends in the job market.
Thank you, Dr. Hussain. And last but not least, Mr. Zawahir, can you explain for us at Westford, what are the traditional workplace competencies that you've seen at key to helping your students deliver?
I would agree with all my fellow panelists on the skills that we discussed about. And some of the traditional skills have remained relevant irrespective of how far we have changed by generations. But I think the gap lies however hard we try to imbibe these skills, train and prepare our students for the future. There's always something extra that every organization expects when we talk about employability skills. There is a gap. There is a lot of things they need to unlearn, relearn, and adapt to the new organization. I think one skill that I want to add on that we have been at Westford thriving on is the cultural competences. We have been talking about intelligence quotient, emotional quotient, cultural quotient, creativity quotient. It's very, very easy for us to understand while we live in UAE with so much diversity, and looking at how every young graduate aspires to look forward to be a global employee, right? They want to move around. They prefer mobility. So I think we need to focus a lot on preparing our students to deal with different cultures, to deal with the mobility, to prepare them to be a global employee. And thankfully for us at Westford, since we have students from over 113 different nationalities, that helps us to learn from each other, to exchange cultural values. And I think that is where we put all the emphasis on to make sure they can deal with uncertainties, they can cope with different cultures, and hopefully give them all the confidence to adapt and cope with any work environment anywhere around the world. And that is where our emphasis lies. Yeah, so work under pressure, deal with uncertainty, be a global employee, cultural competence.
I think the moment you mentioned cultural competence there, I just saw all the heads on my screen nod in unison. It was something that everyone could relate to there. Thank you very much for that first round, panelists. That was a lot of expertise there that we had to wrap our minds around. I just wanted to stop for a short moment in the round of questions for a few housekeeping points, just to let our spectators know we have a poll running. If you would like to click on the polls tab at the bottom of your screen there, do universities make you career ready? Yes or no? We've already had 88 votes on that, so I think a lot of you have already seen that poll. We have 68% saying yes, universities do make you career ready. And now it's switched to, and 31% no, universities do not make you career ready. So a good more than two-thirds there believe that universities are helping us to be career ready. All right, so that's the polls feature. We also have a chat feature, which I see that a lot of you have taken advantage of as well. If you have comments to make, please use the chat feature. And questions, all important questions for our panelists. If you have questions for them, please make sure they go into the questions tab. They won't see them, we won't see them, our moderators won't see them if they're in the chat feature. So if you'd like to ask questions at the end of the panel, please put them in the questions tab. All right, so let's get back to the questions now. All important expertise from our experts. Okay, Dr. Michael, I thought you were loosening your tie there. No tie there. Dr. Michael, let's look at what kinds of skills have become important to us through the pandemic.
Okay, interesting question. So one thing what we already saw is that during the pandemic, of course, the way we communicate changes totally, right? But also the way companies manage their employees totally changed. So just imagine you cannot be the boss anymore who stands behind the desk and then always makes sure the person is working. It's really giving it more flexibility when the people work, and also, as long as they have certain deliverables. So it's different tracked in regards how leadership is actually been seen at. So I think that is one important thing. And the other thing is, of course, all the soft skills that are very important. What already mentioned before, like how we deal with each other, how to communicate, and so on.
Sorry, forgive me there. I forgot how to unmute myself. Thank you very much for that, Dr. Michael. Dr. Hussain, how can universities help develop those skills?
Definitely through integrating these skills into programs. That's one thing, into the curriculum, and preferably at early stages. However, especially, at least at the University of Sharjah, and I'm very sure in other universities, we do have what's the special office called Career Advising Center. And this office is dedicated to teaching these students, especially in the latter years of their program of study, where they actually can learn some of these skills in addition to what they take in the classes. And this is something that we found to be very helpful, and especially if it is well organized and also in collaboration with industry. If it is done this way, in this model, then it will be very easy to assist students in gaining these soft skills. And I just wanted to comment one more point about what Mike said about the experience of COVID. The one very major experience we encountered, all of us, students or administration, is the fact that time does not have any essence anymore. We don't work from 8 to 4 anymore. We extended the work hours beyond that. And this is something really, I like what my colleague said about the idea that, you go with the task approach, but really the time now is open, and where, you can actually reach out to your colleagues through these social media communication platforms, which is very effective. Thank you.
Great points there, Dr. Hussain. Thank you very much. Kiri, if I might ask you to follow up on that, do you foresee changes in the way that businesses and universities collaborate on internships and work placements? Obviously, in this pandemic time, we've not had the face-to-face, the in-situ work placements. How's that going to carry forward?
Yeah, good question also, because I'm a big promoter of industry and academia working closer together always, just to make sure that we are addressing what society needs as learning institutions. And one of the most valuable things that we can help in the learning process is give students this sort of experiential type of opportunity where they can really connect the dots when they're in a working environment. So much of a curriculum sometimes for a student is just, theory and concepts and frameworks. And even though we try and use application with these things, it's really not until they're in a work environment that they connect those dots. And so this is an area constantly we need to evaluate in terms of how we can work in partnership with industry and make sure that together, not just from our side, not just from industry side, that we are giving students the best preparedness for when they graduate. So I'm a big advocate of tighter communication and tighter working relationships between those two.
Thank you for that. Professor Hossam, what kinds of career development services are most popular with students? Gulf Medical.
Career development. Well, maybe answering this question and then as a follow-up of your previous question, because the COVID-19 as an event has led to a disruption of our norms, how we are doing things in our life, leading it to the evolvement and the new ways of doing things and innovation and so on. One of the, particularly in the health profession education sector, a major disruption happened in that, in the university. I'm not going to talk about distance learning and because everybody is doing that. But what's happened is that we have started and we have actually did it and we'll continue to do it, mobilizing all our students to the workplace. So we are reducing classroom learning or teaching or even labs to become more intensive and intense workplace. And the COVID, something very interesting happened, that the students from year one, medicine, dentistry, pharmacy, nurses, there was a severe shortage of health manpower in many hospitals. And you can't imagine the students they have gone to the hospital, whether COVID or non-COVID hospitals, and they have contributed tremendously to the need of the society. So we are moving now, actually we started changing our curricula and moving them very early to be in the hospital at an early phase of their career. And this was a major disruption of what was happening before, and we'll see what's going to happen later on. But this is in the sector of the healthcare sector, because it's an area which there will be I would say there will never be unemployed in a way, because there will be a continuous need for health workforce in this domain.
Oh, Professor Hossam, that's such an interesting insight that you've been able to share with us there about how the pandemic has impacted on medical education. It's and the healthcare sector in general. Thank you. Mr. Zawahir, how has the admissions process been affected by COVID-19?
Okay. With Westford, we have been blessed to launch a few courses if you look at the last 3 months when during the pandemic, we were able to back it up with a lot of new partnerships. We're launching 5 new undergrad courses in September this year in sports business, in media, culture and communication, in fashion, in computer security, and so on. And of course, there has been changes in the process we follow, but we have added we have brought in a few value additions. For example, we believe 1 degree is good for our undergraduate program. I mean, they do a high national diploma and then do their top up with Leopold John Moores University, which is ranked 49th by Guardian 2019, which is ranked higher than any of or most of the universities in UAE. So what we decided is, let's scale up the qualifications the students get and make it useful as well. So they have a graduate. They will graduate with the BA honors in business, but apart from that, they also have a higher national diploma which comes from PSN. But then we added on a professional diploma in career development and business etiquettes, as well as a certified team leader course. And one more thing we have added on is to to tap the talent of young aspiring graduates, which we are launching for the first time, which will be we just to start in the following week after 5 days. And we call it the Youth Business Leadership Program. That is for the 16 to 19-year-olds before they turn 20, before they make up their mind for choosing a graduate program. It doesn't have to be with Westford. It doesn't have to be with any of the universities in Dubai. It can be anywhere, but then we want to prepare them, make sure that they go through an entire journey. They start with the Youth Business Leadership Program, then enroll for a graduate program with us or with anyone else, and then they go through a 2 months professional diploma course, which is entirely focusing on.
Thank you very much for that.
Normal journey with a graduate program, and then eventually they also have a in-leader program. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Zahir. Thank you so much. Okay, I have one more question to get to, Raj. I haven't forgotten about you, but I'm just going to throw open to our new poll here. Are you satisfied with the career development services of universities? Yes or no? We have 54 votes in, and we have just over half saying yes and just under half saying no. Well, the final question I have for the single questions here for Raj is, what's your advice for students looking for tertiary courses? And let me clarify. I'm sure it's one that is a very basic question, but it's one that's essential for people who might be coming up to the end of their schooling and have no idea. They might have very different subjects that they're interested in. They might not be able to choose. What are some easy, key, basic points that they can consider?
Great, thanks, Noni. Just before I answer that question, if I can just go back to 1 or 2 points earlier that you mentioned about what the pandemic has shown us and taught us, and what's our advice in terms of soft skills for today. I'm going to say something a little bit controversial. I think Dr. Mike summed it up beautifully. Certainly, everything he mentioned. You've obviously got things like adaptability and flexibility and tech savviness that's come in as well. But I'm going to say something a little bit controversial here. Yes, it wasn't COVID-19 4 or 5 years ago, but this shouldn't be really a surprise for people, really. If you look at some of the reports that came out 5, 6 years ago, McKinsey in 2015-16 said that the workplace as we know it today is going to be redundant. 15, 16, 17% of the jobs that exist as the way they do and the skills that are required for those jobs are going to be obsolete. So the message was there. The message was already there that people, you need to unlearn, relearn, and so on. Whatever you're learning today, retrain, reskill, upskill. And I'm again, I don't want to preach, but the writing was on the wall. It wasn't through COVID-19, but and there were some forward-looking companies that took heed of that, and it's well documented that some companies are coping with this latest catastrophe that's hit us better than others. These companies knew that it wasn't a 9 to 5 Monday to Friday week, as Mr. Zawahir had just mentioned earlier. Your customers don't come to you between 9 and 5 on Monday to Friday. You could get a call from anywhere at your time, 2 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday, and they expected an answer. And you coming in on Monday, the next day at 9 o'clock to answer that question wasn't good enough. And so there was a lot of companies that learned from this and adapted. The forward-looking companies realized before that, we want a balance between the 9 to 5 and forcing people to come into work and give them the ability to telecommute. How many ladies were we losing just straight after maternity leave because, oh, look at that skill set. You spent all that time training these people, and then they wanted to be with their babies when they were, when the baby was growing up. And we said, choose. And telecommuting wasn't available. You had to be in your office. You could only do the X days maternity leave and so on. And look at the talent you lost. Now, those companies realize, if we set this up where I'm not being, sexist or anything. I'm just using this example. But if we set this up where a mother that's just had a child can work from home, telecommuting, we retain that skill set, best of both worlds. They can look after their baby. They can also multitask, and we're getting that talent staying on board with us. So these people were already doing telecommuting. These companies were already doing a lot of things. And you know what? this was not so much of a shift for them in many ways, and they were ready.
So your advice to students would be to choose wisely.
Yeah, and there are companies that were ahead of this. And, there are some that just woke up and realized that, maybe we shouldn't have been asking our staff to come in 9 to 5. I just mentioned the example of your customers, but it's the whole ecosystem. It's your whole ecosystem. Your best ideas don't come from 9 to 5 on a Sunday to Thursday. You might get a brilliant idea on a Friday afternoon. And what we're saying to people, you come in at 9 to 5. I mean, that mentality is long gone, so
Thank you.
Just that.
Thank you. What I might do before you head to that one, because we had plenty that you could share with us there. I might head to our final round robin question before I get to our spectator questions, and they're really important to answer the ones that our audience out there have been asking. But I know that they're going to be interested. I want each of you, if you can give me a succinct answer on the same question. What are the most employable degrees? Where are they now at this point in 2020? What are the best paying jobs? What are the degrees that will lead to those? Professor Hossam, what is the most employable degree that you have out there?
Nurses. We, as I mentioned, maybe I'm biased, but actually there is definitely there is shortage, not only in UAE but all over the world in some jobs. As it is my area and my domain, definitely it has been obvious that the health sector, the health industry, is an area which will be always needed, and maybe more what's happening now. Apart from the traditional and well-known health professions like physicians, nurses, clinical pharmacists, dentists, and so on, there is a category which is very important, which we are addressing it at Gulf Medical University, which is the healthcare management and health economics. Because as an industry, still we don't have, it's a waste of time, for example, to bring a doctor and tell him he's a director of a hospital or he's a manager. Of course, he has to understand and he must know about this, but it's becoming very important to have people who are specialized in this type of industry, which they can manage the finance, the economics, the management, and the whole system. So this is another area which I think it will be attractive as a new, not a new, but as jobs and the career which will take place. So
thank you, Professor Hossam. Thank you. Okay, let's go to Mr. Zawahir. What are the most employable degrees in your mind?
I think the most popular or based on demand, I would say in supply chain management, logistics and supply chain management, healthcare management. Sports is something that is that's been relatively unattended in this part of the world, but I think there are a lot of opportunities around the world. Traditionally, they were hiring business graduates or students from MBA and so on, but I think a specialist qualification in sports is something that is a lot of youngsters will look forward to take as a career, like as stadium managers, as event managers, or managing sporting events around the world. That's a huge opportunity coming up. And one more area that we have also focused on is business analytics. I think big data is the big thing, which we can't ignore, irrespective of whether it's artificial intelligence or big data that's playing a big role in the business today. That is going to be a hot topic that everybody is going to look forward to. Business analytics. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Dr. Michael, the most employable degrees out there.
Okay. Just before I start with that, one quick thing, because we talked about it earlier, that what disciplines, and when we talked about it, I just wanted to highlight it again, that we talked about work-life balance before, and all the lectures of us who taught leadership. knew that, but now it's more about work-life integration, right? And that means that we have to also teach now the students to have a lot more self-disciplines, and also to that life goes a lot faster. So when you ask me what are now the most paying jobs in UAE or everywhere in the world, I would almost say that's the wrong question, because I think you should find passion for your job, and then when you become very good at your job, money will follow you, right? And it's like when I talk to my wife.
I love this answer.
Yeah, thank you. And you know, it's like when you talk to someone and said, "How is your job?" Well, it's okay. You know, I like it, but it's not about that. It's about, you know, when I talk to my wife, or when somebody asks me, how do I like my wife? And you say, well, I like her, she's okay. I think then that's wrong, right? So you say, I love it. And the same thing, I love my job. And that means you should create a passion for it. And then you're willing to go the extra mile, and then money will come.
Thank you for that perspective. Dr. Hussain, what are the most employable degrees? Or is it all passion-led?
I was on mute, sorry about that. I definitely agree with Mike. This is absolutely spot on. Passion is the name of the game. However, the real life is there. So you have to, basically find a job. In this aspect, I would like to refer to what's so-called unique jobs, unique, new, developing jobs. I mean, for example, I'm not going to repeat what my colleagues said, because that's obviously very true. But there are jobs out there now, especially in the UAE, for example, space. There is a lot of space, especially with the different space centers that are out there. There is a good opportunity, and it's a very challenging, Mike, and interesting job. Students love it. And in the University of Sharjah, it's one of the biggest attraction is in space. Also, cybersecurity. Now, with all these advances, all these distant learning, networking, and all of this, it comes with its cybersecurity. And there are now, as you know, it's a parallel line where this is advanced and this is advanced. So there is a big need in the market for cybersecurity engineers. So that's something that what I call it's a traditional, but now it's in high demand, and also students love it. There's a lot of challenge in it, and I just wanted to emphasize again what Mike said, but also the challenge in the job. So you find it challenging. Challenge is interesting. So that's very important. And there are other jobs, here and there, especially in which are traditional but still there, especially in renewable energy, environment, and these jobs. They're still there. They're still good jobs, and there's still good opportunities in these fields as well.
Thank you. That was a great range there. Kiri, employable degrees at Murdoch.
Yeah, all my good answers have been stolen. So all I'll have to add from my crystal ball is, I can see most of our audience here are students, and they want to know what they should do. And so I would say my best advice for you is not only try and align yourself with something that you find some interest in, but give yourself the scope. So give yourself the opportunity to cross-pollinate different degrees. And that's where we offer students this opportunity of double majors, so they don't have to hem themselves in. And also it gives them lots of more employability at the end. But also important for students to realize is that you will very, very likely change your career 4 or 5 times throughout your entire life. And so this is just the beginning of lifelong learning. So although you think that this is it and this is really important, don't worry. This will all be valuable despite what you do, even 5, 10, 15 years from now and beyond, because this is what we've had to do. We've had to upskill, reskill, and all this new career development. But find something that you are interested in so that it drives your motivation at this stage, and give yourself open scope and perhaps entertain the double major opportunity that gives you that cross-disciplinary knowledge and experience.
Raj, thank you very much, Kiri. Raj, I'm going to do it to you again. I'm going to cut away just to our latest poll. Would you like to see more collaboration between universities and businesses on job placements? A resounding 100% of 89 votes, 90 votes, 100% say yes, more collaboration between universities and businesses on job placements. That will be very interesting in these socially distancing times. Raj, the most employable degrees.
So just to pick up on that question again, so this is something that's really popular at AUD. In our School of Business, we collaborate with industry. And in fact, a lot of our courses are joint industry / School of Business run. But I can't say anything else because, we've had some brilliant answers. But yeah, to summarize, follow your passion. The other thing I think that maybe wasn't said, the government gives you a big clue. If you're looking for the degrees and the sector to go into, look at what the government's doing. Okay, so we're in education, we're in health, we're in tourism, space, etc. You can't go wrong when you look at, what the government's doing. But whatever degree you choose, as Kiri already said, make sure they teach you about lifelong learning. Make sure it's one about where there's critical thinking. Make sure it's one where you can collaborate and they teach you that, the experiential side of it. Make sure the faculty are qualified to teach the courses that, that the degree you're doing. And yeah, so I'd love to just tell you here as well, Noni, that, AUD's employability rate last survey was 96.15%. So really proud of that.
Thank you for that, Raj. It's time now to go to our spectator questions, and I really would like to get through as many as we can. We're running quite close to time. We'll run a little bit over if you don't mind, so we can get to some of these questions. But if we can try and answer these questions in a nutshell so that we can bounce around to as many as possible, that would be really great. I'll start off with David's question. What is the enrolment rate for degrees in arts and humanities over the years? What are the job opportunities for arts and humanities graduates? Dr. Hussain, I'm going to ask you this one. Has it improved over the years for arts and humanities graduates? What's the enrolment rate like there?
Sorry about that. And thanks for the reminder. At the University of Sharjah, we have a very good intake of in these disciplines. And even though we have about 6 departments in arts and humanities, but there are very good enrollment in all of these departments. International relations seem to be the theme nowadays. There is a lot of students that go into international relations. And there is a good employability opportunity for these students. Social sciences, also there is a big demand on that, and there is also a good, especially in the UAE now with the the social services and whatnot. There is a lot of good opportunities, job opportunities there. And of course, traditionally you have the Arabic department, and also we have the now. The languages, Department of Languages, where English, French. Now we have also French, and again, there we have good enrollment in this department, and also there is a good demand, especially on translators, just writers and what have you, and there is a good opportunity there. Now we added the education department, so the education department is now with the arts and humanities. And believe it or not, there is a high demand on teachers. It's still in the UAE, especially with the new Ministry of Education. They're asking now for certification, and with this, there is a high demand on that. So there is in arts and humanities, even though some students didn't think of it, but the enrollment is good, and also the employability is good. So this is something that is at least the experience of the University of Sharjah. It's really good, and that's very pleasing to us.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hussain. Dr. Michael, this might be a good one for you. How do you prepare at Middlesex? How do you prepare students for EU, USA, and the Gulf and other markets based on competencies and lifelong learning competencies?
Thank you so much for the question. A very good question, by the way. So at Middlesex, we have over 100 different nationalities, right? So I think probably we have the biggest international day as such, but at least the loudest one. I promise you that, because my office is directly next to the big event. And so when you just go there, and I always go there during my lunch break and try to eat from some of the different booths. We have 70 different dishes there. right? And those students, they also work in group works together, in other activities, and they become friends for life, right? I even saw a couple married one day from two different countries. So what I want to say is, I think it's about life education and integrating that as the world becomes more global.
Thank you very much for that lovely picture you painted for us. Kiri, Mohammed Yunus has written in, flexible work and work from home requires a great deal of self-discipline. How does the academic life foster these skills? I can imagine it must be really tough.
Wow. It's a very big question, and one that I can profess that I am not an expert at. I think that our role as educators and facilitators has broadened, particularly in this last few months, as we try and reach through our monitors to connect with students the same way that we did in a face-to-face situation. And so fostering good mental health, I think, is important for us as educators to role model. And through that role modeling, then hopefully that also transpires to students, sort of leveraging a little bit to what Raj has said in terms of this new workforce environment we're in, which we have accelerated to, that we don't have this 9-to-5 time frame anymore, but as teachers and educators, we never had that anyway. But it's really learning how to be healthy mentally and also instilling that in our students, because as we all know, mental health is as vital as physical health, and particularly when you're learning in an online environment, it becomes more apparent, motivation, your surroundings of learning, and how you drive yourself to be mentally healthy all the time is really important. So we as educators have to role model that. And, I think it's a learning process for us also.
Thank you so much for that. My goodness. Let's see if we can get to another question here. Okay. We have, Sahil, in this digitally evolving era, which are the core industries to boom and are getting in demand? Zavahir, can you give us some insight on this? In this digitally evolving era, which are the core industries to boom and are getting in demand?
I think looking forward to, like I said before, business analytics or big data and artificial intelligence. I would say almost every industry, like if you look at banking, for example, we're talking about Emirates MBD in Dubai, looking forward to launch their first manless, completely digitalized AI-driven services. So we're going. I don't think we can single out any university or any industry. For example, last year in Brussels, they ran a motor exhibition, and Volvo came up with a AI-enabled recruitment car, and that was extremely disruptive, because that exhibition was supposed to be one to exhibit their new cars, and then Volvo from Norway came up with a recruiting car enabled by AI, and that became the talk. And so a car talking about HR in a conference that was supposed to promote their cars. So I think automobile, banking, we talk about, it is not the conventional, the so-called organizations like Microsoft or Google or Amazon, which are digitally driven organizations, but almost every organization is going to be AI enabled or big data enabled, and we have to prepare our students to look into that future and fit themselves into that future. Yeah.
Thanks so much. Professor Hossam, I have a question here. Is it too late to start thinking about admissions for tertiary courses? What is the ideal time to start planning for university admissions?
Tertiary courses, you said? Sorry, I didn't.
Yes. Is it too late to start thinking about admissions for tertiary courses? I'm not quite sure where they are in their education, but is it too late now? What is the ideal time to start planning for university admissions?
Well, I don't think there is a time limit. Any time they can start. Even when they are in school, they can think of what they're going to do later on. Actually, we have started a program here, which we call it the Future Scientists of UAE, where we take students from grade 10, 11, and we embed them in a research environment. So with our research and our precision medicine research institutes, and they come every Saturday. Their parents, they bring them here, and they spend a full year with us to be embedded in this, how researchers think. And this is a sort of introducing them to the future of what they can do, or to see what is going to be the future. So preparation and bringing the students from the school to the secondary education, and even to see the workplace of the future very early, it can start very early. And I don't know if I have answered to some extent the question.
Thank you so much, Professor Hossam. Kiri, in the current scenario, would it be difficult for students to get admitted to their favourite course? What is your advice?
Well, I guess it depends on the new parameters of which we're going to operate, largely, and then we will accordingly adapt maybe into a hybrid model based on the need to social distance, based on physical requirements of our facilities. But this is where I think higher education has a great opportunity now to really evolve and develop our infrastructure so that we're more accessible, so that we have the opportunity to utilize technology in the best way possible. And so I wouldn't anticipate there being restrictions in terms of admissions and entries. All those entry requirements that are required previously for certainly Murdoch are the same. It's just under which environment we are now going to facilitate learning. And I see it being more and more integrated with online learning, blended learning. Our environment will no doubt absolutely 100% change. It will not go back to what we had before in any way, shape or form, purely just because of the logistics of operating with distance, with masks, with sanitization requirements, all of this. This will change our entire way that we teach.
Thank you so much. I have to say, unfortunately, that's all we have time for, so we're going to call this one an evening. Let me remind you that the information that you need for our speakers and their universities can be found at the top of the screen. There are two headings up there saying speakers and booths, and if you'd like more information on our experts and where they're from, you can look for them there, speakers and booths, for the institutions that they represent and for them themselves. So, do we have time to go back and check the polls there? We have would you like to see more collaboration between universities and businesses on job placements? Yes, 99%. I think there's been one vote cast for no more collaboration. Are you satisfied with the career development services of universities? 50-50. How about that? 50% of the respondents are satisfied with career development. Do universities make you career ready? 64% yes. There we go. So if you'd like to read more about this topic, we'll have a follow-up article and a video of summary of the webinar today. So you can see that on gulfnews.com, or if you want to buy the newspaper in your local store. I'd like to thank our speakers for their time and their expertise today. Wow, we covered so many topics. I mean, we really could have drilled down much further into all of them. So thank you, and thank you for helping us get through as much content as we could do. Ms. Kiri Chandler, Program Coordinator and Faculty Undergraduate Business at Murdoch University. Mr. Raj Kapoor, Director of Student Recruitment, American University in Dubai. Dr. Hussein Elmedi, Dean of Academic Support Services at University of Sharjah. Professor Hossam Hamdi, Chancellor of Gulf Medical University. Mr. Zawahir Sadiq, Head of Blended Learning at Westwood University College. And Dr. Michael Klopp, Senior Lecturer, Head of the Institute for Entrepreneurship and Business Excellence, Head of the Middlesex MBA, and Head of the Careers and Employability Service at Middlesex University. Thank you all. It's been a fascinating conversation today. I'm Noni Edwards for Gulf News, and I will see you again next time. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Stay safe. All the best. Bye-bye.
And you all. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.